Thank you so much for joining us today. We are very, very excited to have both our current clients and some new faces joining our mConsent Community Connection session. If you're just logging in, you can again give us a quick hello in the Q&A section and let us know where you're joining in from. My name is Amna Imtiaz. I'm the manager of customer success at mConsent. I work with both our product team, our entire onboarding and support team, and our clients alike to make sure that value is delivered out of our product, and we help every single practice streamline their operations and let them focus on the one thing that matters the most, and that's patient care. And that's the goal of our company as well. So, moving forward on the agenda today, I am going to give you guys a quick introduction to our company and to these sessions for anyone who's new here. Moving on from that, we are going to have a demo of our Self Check-In Kiosk. We will also have some time for Q&A at the end and some important product updates that you don't want to miss. Including in the agenda is also some closing remarks from our VP, so stay tuned for that. So, as far as mConsent is concerned, for anyone who's new here, we work with different clients and clinics alike to make sure that we help them streamline their operations. We help them focus on patient care and reduce front desk friction as well, digitalize their patient intake, and so much more. One thing that you should know about our company is that we are constantly evolving based on your feedback. And sessions like these, they are actually a part of that commitment so that we can do that very thing. And community connection as sessions, these webinars are actually an opportunity where we bring clients together to learn from product updates from each other and from real world implementation stories. And the demos that we give in these sessions, they aren't just demos. It's about actual operational improvement for all of our clients. So today, for this particular session, we do have, as I discussed with you guys, our self check-in kiosk. So we will be discussing about that, and we will be giving you guys a demo on how to work that and how to kind of adopt it into your practice. So before we get into that, I am going to launch a quick poll as well. You guys can actually take a part in that. Tell us how long your average patient check-in takes. But before we get into this, I do want to say one thing. Our focus today, the Self Check-In Kiosk, it's actually a solution that's designed to significantly reduce front desk bottlenecks. So make sure that you guys participate with any questions that you guys have and select your answers from the poll as well. We'll reference them during the demo. And also, we do have some resources enabled in the platform. If you guys click on the resources option, you'll find helpful materials there. All of our social links are there for you guys to follow us. And if anyone's interested in booking a demo for the Self Check-In Kiosk, you guys should be able to do that as well. But before I get into this any further, I would like to introduce to all of you Nick. He's our senior product manager, and he's the person who is going to introduce you guys to our Self Check-In Kiosk. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to you, Nick. Go ahead.
Thank you, Emna. So as Emna said, we will be going over the check-in kiosk today, a solution for quickly reducing the time it takes to check in your patients. Now, before we get started, I do want to throw out there that this will not be a customized demo. We like to save those for the actual demo so we can kind of cater to your specific questions and talk about how it works with your in particular workflow and EMR. So today we'll be just going over a generalized check-in process to kind of show you the grand scale picture of how this feature works, rather than going into the nitty-gritty, which will be covered by our very qualified sales team members. So on screen right here, we have kind of a picture of what the kiosk will look like when it arrives at your office. On the left there, we have a demo machine logged in here in our office in Minneapolis, Minnesota. As you can see, it's a large screen Android device. Comes with a charger that can plug into the wall and just plug it into your front desk area. And it logs right into the app, asks you for a Wi-Fi password, and you're good to go. There's no setup process or anything like that. No hurdles you have to jump over, just plug and play. Now, the box on the right is our customized and branded box that we will be sending all the kiosks in. So we've really gone the extra mile to ensure that all of the information that you require right off the bat is there available for you right on the branding box, rather than having to send you any kind of messy paperwork or email outlining how the device works or maybe the statistics of it. You can jump to the next screen. So as I said, when you get the kiosk, it will automatically be logged into the app. So you'll go ahead and just plug it into the wall, and when it boots up, it will come right into the mConsent kiosk check-in application with this screen right here, your kiosk login. Now, similar to many of our other devices, you can use any credentials you want to log into this device on your account, so long as those credentials are marked for kiosk login. Because this is not needed, this does not need to follow HIPAA compliancy processes because it is not dealing directly with patient healthcare information. There's no need to input the password several times anytime you switch screens per HIPAA compliancy policy. So for the most part, you'll be logging in once, and unless you have any kind of reason to log out, you won't need to log in again, unless you're accessing settings, which we will go over in a little bit here. Once you've entered credentials, again, whatever ones you want, you'll agree to the terms and service, log in, and you will be brought to our landing page right here. As you can see, very simplified. Up on the top, it will have your logo that you can also find on all of your online forums as well as your iPads. And on the upper left, we have our time and date. And of course, that'll be set up for your local time. And then the gear on the upper right is for your settings section, which we will talk about briefly at the end here. Now, at the bottom, as you can see, or center of the screen, here are your options for check-in. Now, the vast majority of clients are going to be using the patient details option, and we will take a look at what that looks like in a second here. But I would like to point out the option to scan QR code. With our appointment reminder features, that is a very popular feature for many of our existing clients. The appointment reminders come with QR codes attached to them, and those QR codes can be pulled up on the phone. And if you choose the scan code option, you can just show the camera. It'll scan the QR code for that particular appointment, find the patient, and you'll be able to check in from there instead of having to search yourself up based on first name, last name, date of birth. But due to the process being more common with patient details, we'll go ahead and look at the patient detail option here. So when the patient selects to check in via the patient detail option, they will have to put in their first name, last name, date of birth, which, if you're familiar with mConsent, you will know is a main metric for identifying patients in your practice management system. The system is smart enough that it can detect variations in names. If your name is Jonathan, you don't have to type in Jonathan. John is typically good enough to work. But last name, of course, needs to be accurate, and particularly date of birth. Once you put in this information, you can also add in the phone number just to give it that extra help with searching the patient up, but it's typically not necessary. Once you put in the first name, last name, date of birth, you'll click confirm, and it will go ahead and search through all of the day's appointments to find the appropriate one. It will then confirm the appointment, show you the appointment time, date, who the provider the patient is seeing, and then it will have you verify and update information that may be out of date. So, of course, first name, last name, that's already set, as you're seeing right here, but you have the option to alter your cell phone, your email, your address, and you can just click in with the touch screen, type in your address, your email, your cell phone, any information you need to change. And when you finish your check-in process, that information with our API integration solution that we have for all mConsent products will go ahead and port over into the patient's chart in whatever practice management system you're using. So even though the forms will be completed and also updating, if the patient needs to update something right there when they're checking in, they can go ahead and do that by just editing the demographics right here. And once the patient is happy with their demographic information there, they'll say complete check-in, and it will carry on to the next page. Now, everything after the demographics page is technically optional. We find that a lot of offices do use this, but it is toggleable in the settings of the device, which again, we will cover at the end here. You can choose to make photos optional of your patients. And of course, those photos will then upload over to the patient's document center in your practice management system for you to maybe add to their chart, give your practice a little bit more of that personal flair that a lot of patients like. And then more importantly, the one that I see a lot here is the insurance card. Now, as we all know, in most practices, insurance is fairly frequently used and very important. So as a result, it's important that you get that insurance photo. So you'll note that in our online forms, when you're gathering insurance card photos, it's always optional. And that's because that is a HIPAA compliancy policy. You cannot force a client per HIPAA compliancy policy to take a photo of secure documentation electronically, not physically in the office. So we have to make that skippable. Now, if the patient does not give an insurance card, but they do have one, you're probably going to want that in order to get them the proper billing information. That's where the kiosk can step in and give you some help. Now, normally what would happen, patient didn't provide their insurance card when they did their check-in, is they're going to walk in, you're going to say, hey, I need a picture of your insurance card, and then they'll hand you your insurance card. You'll have to go walk back to the scanner and then go ahead and take some time scanning that and getting it into the document center. A little cumbersome. So instead, we're having the option to go ahead and just capture a picture of the front and back of that insurance card right here. And just like the photo or any document that is filled out in mConsent online or iPad forms, this picture of the front and back of the insurance card will go ahead and port over the patient's document center, where you can go and recover it and import that insurance information to the appropriate location. Now, when you have taken the photos, or a patient has taken the photos, you will get a preview section. And if anything's a little blurry, or maybe you didn't get the right angle, anything like that, you can have the option to retake the photo. But again, this is entirely optional. If your practice doesn't want to get a patient photo, or your practice doesn't need to worry about insurance photos or insurance card photos, you can go into the settings and just toggle that off. Now, a neat thing that we've added on here is that through two ways that mConsent can automatically send forms to patients. We have of course, our appointment reminders, again, a well-used feature, that automatically will send out any forms that the patient needs for their appointment via the email and the text message the patient receives reminding them of their appointment. Now, in addition to that, you can also go onto your mConsent dashboard where we have your schedule duplicated from your practice management system. If you send out the forms via either of these two methods, the system, mConsent, has the ability to track the status of those forms. When you send them over, it'll say pending, patient opens it up, it'll say in progress, patient submits it, it'll say waiting for approval, and then when it's finally securely stored in your practice management system, the status changes to completed. Now, obviously, completed is the ideal scenario for any patient walking in to check in, but that doesn't always happen. Of course, you're going to have patients who forgot to do them, or they got halfway through and they, had a question or something that came into the office. So instead of having to send out those forms to the patient again, or pull them up on the iPad, or God forbid, having to print out the form and have them manually fill it out, although I do know that some patients do like doing that. Instead, if you have form tracking on there, when the patient checks in, mConsent will check what the status of the forms the patient has to complete is. And if it finds that any of them are not completed yet, it's going to go ahead and automatically send out those forms to the patient again, so that when they're done with their check-in process, they can walk back to the waiting room, sit down, fill out the forms without having to interrupt the workflow of your front desk staff in order to get those forms sent out or printed out for them. And then, of course, they will be able to choose whether to receive them via email or text message, their preference. Now, once all this process has been completed, they will get a check-in complete message saying, thank you, please have a seat, and we'll call you shortly. Now, this is the default message. In the settings section, as we've talked about, there is an option to have a completely customizable message that appears when the patient completes their check-in process. So maybe you have a little personal flair you want to put in there, or some additional instructions, anything like that. You can add that in the settings for the device. Now, finally, you'll see at the bottom, redirecting in 9 seconds. Now, the redirecting will automatically go back to the home screen of the kiosk for the next check-in as soon as the timer runs out. So essentially, the workflow is patient walks in, they look themselves up, or more particularly their appointment on the kiosk, they confirm their demographics, they take any photos that you've requested, they get their form sent out to them, system resets, and then we start from square one again. The whole process, when patient is all prepared, you know what you're doing on the kiosk, takes no less than a minute for a patient walking in the door to sitting down and waiting for the doctor to call them back, all without any of the receptionists having to stop what they're working on, any insurance stuff that they might be doing, calls they might be making in order to work with those patients at the front desk. Now, I do want to reiterate that the solution was designed to help cut down on busy work, not reduce the interaction with your patients. This is not the kind of solution where we are actively encouraging you not to have that personal flair with your patients. We love offices that do that kind of thing. But because the patient is able to do that themselves, you're able to focus more on getting to know your patients and speaking with them, asking them about any updates in their life, and just getting to know them a little better so that they feel a little more at home at your dental practice. All while they still do the clerical work that they need to do in order to check in. So that was our mConsent check-in kiosk. We'd love to give you a demo on this. We have dozens, hundreds of devices ready to be sent out to our clients as soon as they're ordered. We can do a ship out in a matter of 3 to 5 days, depending on your location in the country. As I said, gets delivered, plugs in, goes. Now, again, any demo that's scheduled for this will be personalized more towards your practice management system, answering any questions you might have about customization and things like that. So go ahead, schedule with anyone in our wonderful sales team, and they'll be more than happy to go over a customized solution with the kiosk. And thank you for your time, and thank you everyone for coming.
Thank you so much for that, Nick. You heard from our senior product manager. Since he works directly on product strategy and enhancements, you're hearing directly from the source. And it was very, very beneficial, Nick. Thank you so much for all of your insights. We are going to move forward with some Q&A and see what people want to ask you. So we actually do have a couple questions here. So I'm going to take these and just rapid fire at you if you'd like to answer. So
Sure, go ahead.
the first one that we have, what do practices typically use the kiosk for?
Well, as I stated during the demo a moment ago, these practices are typically using the kiosk to kind of cut down on the clerical work that their staff are having to engage in. Of course, these are all organizational, strategic processes that you are doing to keep your numbers up to date and make sure your business is working properly. But in order to effectively do those with a human element, it can take a little bit of time and it can distract. If you're having to call to schedule appointments or get recalls set up or call other practices to give referrals and things like that. That's all things that you need to be doing on the phone or paying attention to other tasks. And of course, you're having patients walking in and
Mm,
out all day long. That might be interrupting you. Of course, that needs to be your top priority. So if that interrupts any important business, then you have to stop and check in that patient. And that can take some time, especially if you have a lot of intake processes or patient needs forms, anything like that. So what the kiosk is designed to do is put that power in the hands of the patients while still communicating the appropriate information over to your practice management system. All of that information that you need as a practice in order to stay organized is still being gathered, but it's no longer a requirement for the front desk staff to do it. Instead, it's in the patient's hands. They do all the communication that they need for their appointment themselves, and you can go ahead and just stay focused on whatever task that you have to do, or just, shoot the breeze with them and get to know your patients.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Next up on the not so rapid fire is what is the turnaround time for the check-in on the kiosk to reflect in the EMR?
That's a great question. So in previous builds of the kiosk, we did have it operating on the automated sync time that we have with the practice management system, which can be customized. The default is 15 minutes, but we can dumb it down to as much as 3 minutes in some cases. Now, what we've had with the kiosk, however, is that when the patient checks in on the kiosk immediately tells mConsent, hey, the patient is checked in. And what mConsent then does is the kiosk procs it to immediately contact the practice management system and pass that check-in along. So essentially, it is using a manual process that is already in mConsent, but it's automatically prompting it as soon as mConsent checks in, or as soon as mConsent gets that check-in from the kiosk. The result is that it's virtually instantaneous. We're talking like a maximum of 30 seconds. The worst you might have to do is refresh your user interface in the practice management system, which could be moving days or jumping off of the schedule for a second and coming back into it. Just enough time for the practice management system to refresh how it looks.
Absolutely. Thank you. And next up, we also have someone inquiring about the cost of adding this to their practice.
So now normally devices like this cost about $120. However, as at the current moment, we are offering bundle prices with this, where clients who get the features sign up with the features that mConsent uses most frequently with the appointment or with the kiosk, the appointment reminders and texting mainly. We're going ahead and offering a free kiosk for the devices. So of course, this is available a la carte, and I believe we're talking about $120, give or take. I'd have to get the exact pricing numbers, but as of right now, most clients that sign up for this will be getting this a la carte free of charge.
That is wonderful, actually. Pretty good deal. Next up, we have another attendee asking if the forms can be sent with the kiosk.
Could you clarify that question a little more?
They might just be asking about the functionality of it. If whoever posted the question would be able to elaborate.
I think I can field that question with the information there. So as I said during the demo, yes, the kiosk will be sending the forms out. mConsent has a variety of ways in order to track the status of the forms that were sent. So you send them out via the appointments tab or automatically via the appointment reminders. mConsent knows how many of those forms have been filled out, if any. And that because that is linked to the patient's appointment, when they come in to check for the appointment, the kiosk is going to go ahead and take a look and see if any of those forms or some of them have been filled out for that appointment. If they have not, it's automatically going to say, hey, we see you didn't fill out these forms. These are required for your check-in. How'd you like to receive them again? Text or email. And then it'll go ahead and send that out to them immediately. They'll be able to pull it up on their phone and fill it out right there.
Great. Vanessa, did you want to add anything to that? Okay, perfect. Good to know. Anyone else, if you would like to have your questions answered, now's the time. I'm going to give it another minute and see if anyone else has a question before we move forward. Let's see.
Those were some really great questions.
Yeah, definitely.
Jump in here and point out just about the kiosk here. Another thing that can really be appreciated about the kiosk is it really brings your practice into the modern age. Some practices do prefer paper forms and things like that due to their clientele. We all know that. And if that works for your practice, that's great. But the field of technology, especially dental technology, is so expanding so quickly in the 2020s here that keeping your office up to date really puts you a leg above the competition. If someone comes into your office as a patient and they see you have this nice, easy, breezy check-in process in place, where if they walk down the street to the neighboring dental clinic, the front desk's jamming on, running all over the place, doing paperwork, saying they'll be with you in a moment, everything like that. It really puts your practice above theirs in terms of professionalism. And that's at the end of the day, that's what this solution is in place for.
That is great, Nick. Thank you. And honestly, I completely agree with that because I happened to talk to one of my clients, and this is really special because Wallace Family Dentistry here, they kind of echoed what you were just saying. They were able to implement the kiosk and see real operational improvements as well. And that was just it. It's a big change. It can be daunting as well for some practices because there are actual people from your team involved in this process. But you can take from their example, they're a fantastic team who were able to embrace that change and follow through for a more streamlined workflow as well. And it worked out really great for their team. I actually happened to talk to Lindsay, who is their director of administration, and she shared real-time improvements and how this was able to contribute to their practice. So really special. I'm going to play this out for you guys here directly from the source from one of our clients who were able to implement this beautifully into their practice.
First of all, I do want to know before anything else, what challenges were you facing before implementing mConsent?
Well, we didn't really have a fluid way to do consent forms unless we were to have individual signature pads in every single room or just use traditional paper. Having something that actually integrates really seamlessly in with Dentrix and to have it actually integrate is massively helpful.
And was there anything in particular that made you decide to move forward with mConsent, like anything that stood out to you compared to other solutions?
This was actually something that my dentist researched and said, I think that this is something that can really, really help our practice. It really has been a game changer for our office.
That's incredible. I'm guessing your onboarding experience was like the setup process and everything was smooth for your team?
Everything was very smooth. We could customize our forms. Everything was incredibly easy, very user-friendly.
And I would be interested in knowing what improvements have you noticed since using mConsent?
Yeah, I know that my front office has really appreciated it with our existing, patient check-in and updates. And so if they're not completing it online prior to, she has them check in on the kiosk and it forces them to complete their paperwork right then and there. So it's wonderful. And then it also checks them in on our system. So in the event we're away from the front desk, the rest of the team can be notified that the patient has arrived and they're ready.
And would you recommend mConsent to other practices?
Yes.
What actually made you decide to use the mConsent kiosk?
Here, because usually I have someone sitting up right at the front desk, and so there's checks patients in, you know what I mean? So it has been helpful in the sense, like I said, if we're in our morning huddle, patients that arrive as we ask them too early to complete their paperwork, they come in, they check themselves in, and then that part is just done and we can move on with checking in other patients. It's very nice.
That's good to know. I mean, that answers my question, right? You might have noticed time saving at the front desk while using the kiosk and reduced paperwork or manual entry as well.
Yes, so much reduced paperwork. My goodness, it's been incredibly easy to be able to create the packets and send those out, to have our post-op instructions, our warranty, everything in a packet that can just go straight to the patient right there in chair. Absolutely incredible.
And I'm actually pretty excited to know, how has your front desk team responded to the kiosk? Has it reduced stress during busy hours for them?
Yes, it has. So if Barbara or I were on the phone, we will just indicate to patients to please check in at the kiosk. And so it does take some stress off, and we don't have anyone missed in the waiting room.
And in one sentence, wrapping this up, how has the kiosk changed your front desk overall?
It has changed it exponentially. It's made everything easier, cleaner. Like I said, we're not missing patients. Paperwork is complete. Consent forms are done. There's nothing slipping through the cracks.
Wonderful. That's what I like to hear.
I got to say that I've been working at the same practice for 15 years, and we have implemented so many different, types of policies or softwares or programs. Like, you said that they'll promise you the world and not deliver. This so far has been the only consistent one in all of that time. So that tells mConsent anything, just from my personal experience. And there's a lot of it.
But at the end of the day, the service that you guys are providing to, your doctors as well as your patients, and going through these days, which are so busy, with a smile on your face, we all appreciate that very, very much. So thank you so much.
Well, and I would thank you so much.
Well, there we go. Incredible to hear from someone like Lindsay with so much experience, and seeing how much she appreciates the Self Check-In Kiosk, and not just that, the overall, improvement that it's brought to her team as well. It was incredible, and this tells you how real time, change can actually improve things for your practice. So I hope that you got what you needed from that. And moving on, I actually have a very important update, especially for our clients. We have a forms library update. So we have the new HIPAA 2026 forms uploaded up in our library. So you guys can actually refer to the post up on your news board for step-by-step instructions on how to reorder a packet when adding new forms from our forms library. And including with that, we actually have our new BAA coming up. So our business associates agreement, the new version of it is going to come up in about 2 to 5 days approximately. And you guys will be able to access that through a live pop-up on your PAs as well. And you should be able to access it, review it, and sign it. If you guys have any questions, you can always reach out to our teams, and they would be more than happy to answer those for you. So, other than that, I would also like to inform you guys to follow our newsletter and stay updated, because this is not the end of the sessions. As I said, this is a continued series of community connections where we will be connecting with you guys with almost every single month, and making sure that our clients, prospects, our team have a shared platform to discuss ideas and anything else that you would like to bring to the table. Moving on from that, I do want to hand it over to Vanessa, our VP of Customer Success and Support, to share a few closing remarks.
Thanks, Amna. I was thinking during that testimonial, you guys are really lucky that we removed that reaction button from me, because I seriously would have been hitting like the hand clap or the love the whole time. That was great. Thank you both for the session. I really appreciate it. Thank you to everybody for joining us today. I just want to thank you all for being here. We know how busy your practices are, so the fact that you took time out to join us truly means a lot. These community sessions are honestly one of my favorite things to do. It's our chance to connect with you, to share updates, and make sure you're getting real value from everything that we're doing here at mConsent. We've got more great sessions, great product updates coming. Definitely keep an eye out. If you'd like to automatically be subscribed to these sessions so you never miss a session, just reach out to me directly. I'll make sure I take care of that personally. So again, just thank you for being part of our community. We really appreciate you. We're grateful for you, and we're excited to keep growing with you. Thanks for joining today.
Thank you so much, Vanessa. And before we end and move towards the resources, Nick, just a quick look at our poll that we initiated at the start of our session to see how much the average check-in times take for all of the attendees that are in here today. So 57% said 5 minutes, 29% said 10 minutes, and 14%, still significant, said 20 minutes. Do you have anything to add to that?
What I would add to that is, I mean, that's a lot of your time every day that you could be working on other stuff or speaking with your clients on a more personal basis and getting to know them, building your company's reputation, making sure that your patients understand that you're a community staple where they live, not just a business that they're giving money to. And 5 minutes is still too long in my mind. The kiosk can like bring that down to a minute maximum when the patient has all their things set up and everything. They're ready to check in. They walk through the door. They don't have any questions. And even if they do, that offers more time for them to ask those questions rather than having to do the check-in process and stopping to ask questions during it, anything like that. It just will save you tons of time and tons of money of your time.
Definitely. Thank you so much for that, Nick. And thank you all so much for joining us today. I cannot say this enough when I say that we truly, truly value your partnership. And again, as a quick reminder, please refer to the resource section for materials for our social media links, for the demo link if you would like to reach out to our sales team, our incredible sales team. As Nick said, if you want to book a demo, it's going to be a lot more personalized. You would be able to talk about your practice and get your demo designed around that as well. So please reach out to us. You will also receive a recording of this session to anyone who's registered and for the rest of our clients as well. And if you'd like a deeper dive, our team is here to help you. We would love to connect one-on-one. Thank you so much and have a wonderful, wonderful day. Thank you.